You ever wonder how a giant company, like Amazon, can get a package to your door in, what, less than 24 hours? I mean, it's amazing, right? Well, the secret, it isn't just drones and massive warehouses. It's this incredibly powerful piece of software that's basically the company's central brain. And today, we're going to dive deep into that brain, which is called an ERP.
So yeah, what is the central nervous system of a business? I think this question is perfect, honestly, because it frames everything we're about to talk about. It really gets to the core of how a modern company actually works. Or, sometimes how it doesn't work. Okay, so the answer, of course, is ERP. That stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. Now, don't think of this as just some app you download. It's more like the entire operating system for the company itself. It is the digital backbone connecting every single part of the business. I'm talking from accounting right down to the person on the assembly line.
Okay, picture this. The sales team is high-fiving, celebrating a record quarter. Awesome, right? But the warehouse? They have no idea. They're still working off last month's numbers. That's what we call a data silo, and it's a huge problem. An ERP it smashes down those walls. So now everybody, and I mean everybody, from the CEO down to the forklift operator, is looking at the exact same up-to-the-minute information. It becomes the one single source of truth for the whole company.
All right, so if we're going to call this thing the central brain, then what are the different parts of that brain? And, maybe more importantly, how do they all talk to each other? Let's take a closer look.
But before we get into all the nitty-gritty details, let's talk about the problem ERPs were actually designed to solve in the first place. I mean, think about a restaurant where the kitchen, the waitstaff, and the bar are all using totally different systems for orders. It'd be a complete disaster, right? That is exactly the kind of chaos an ERP is meant to fix.
And this breaks down the why perfectly. Integration? Well, that means no more back and forth between departments. The whole he said, she said thing is gone. Automation? That frees up your smartest people from doing boring, repetitive data entry. But for me, the real game changer, the absolute killer feature, is visibility. Just imagine being able to spot a potential problem in your supply chain weeks before it actually happens, and being able to fix it right then and there. That's the kind of power an ERP gives.
All right, you ready? Let's crack open this digital skull and take a quick tour of the different lobes of the ERP brain.
Okay, first up, we've got the financial lobe. This is the part of the brain that controls the absolute lifeblood of any company, the money.
So think of this as the financial command center. The general ledger, that's basically the company's main diary, where every single transaction gets recorded. And accounts payable and receivable, or AP and AR, that's just a fancy way of saying it tracks who the company owes money to and who owes money to them. It's like a financial truth serum for the whole organization, really.
And here's a perfect real-world example. Let's say you're a manufacturing firm. You don't have to wait till the end of the month to figure out how you're doing. Nope. With an ERP, you can pull up your income statement and track every expense as it happens, in real time. It's kind of like having this financial dashboard that is always up to the second.
Okay, so we've followed the money. Now let's follow the actual products. And that brings us to the logistics lobe, which you'll probably know as supply chain management, or SCM.
This module is all about the journey of a product. I mean, from the very beginning as raw materials all the way until it lands on the customer's doorstep. And the SCM module handles, well, everything. Buying the materials, tracking every single piece of inventory, right down to the last nut and bolt, and managing that whole complex dance of shipping and logistics.
I guarantee you've experienced this. You walk into a big retail store, and somehow they have exactly what you're looking for, right there on the shelf. How? How do they do that? Well, that's the SCM module doing its thing. It is constantly tracking stock levels, and the second an item gets low, boom, it automatically triggers a reorder. It really is the invisible hand that keeps those shelves full.
All right, so we've covered money, and we've covered products. But what about the most important part of literally any business? The customer. And that's where the Customer Relationship Management module, or CRM, comes into play.
The whole job of the CRM is to make every single customer feel like they are the only customer. It tracks every interaction, from that very first sales call to the most recent support ticket. Think of it as a complete, living, breathing history of a customer's entire relationship with the company.
So, imagine you're a salesperson for a minute. Before you even pick up the phone, you can instantly see that customer's entire history, what they bought, any issues they've had before, everything. That lets you have a much smarter, much more personal conversation. It's the huge difference between a cold call and a really warm, helpful conversation.
And listen, those are just the big three.
A full-blown ERP system has modules for pretty much everything else. You've got human resources for managing, a company's most important asset, its people. You've got manufacturing modules to run the whole show on the factory floor. There are special tools for procurement, for project management. I mean, it is a truly massive system that touches every single corner of the business.
So let's bring this all together. After our little tour of the ERP brain, what are the most important things you should walk away with?
This table here is a great little cheat sheet for everything we've just talked about. But honestly, the real magic isn't in any one of these modules by itself. It's how they all work together. The financial module is constantly talking to the supply chain module, which is talking to the customer module. It's this nonstop, seamless flow of information that just makes the entire business smarter and more efficient.
Look, if you remember just one thing from all of this, please make it this simple phrase. ERP equals everything runs on a platform. That's it. That is the whole idea right there in a nutshell.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. We live in a world now where data is basically the new oil, right? So what do you think happens to the companies that don't have that central brain to manage all of it? Yeah, it's definitely something to think about.